Hi everybody, and a very warm welcome to Susannah's Kitchen, wishing you a very Merry Christmas. And thank you for choosing to click on this video. So we make everything in the Ninja Foodi here, and Christmas is no exception. Of course, I don't expect you to be making a whole Christmas dinner for like 10 people using just one Ninja Foodi, but these recipes aren't just for Christmas Day. These recipes are for the full festive season. So I've got you covered with everything from party nibbles, starters, main courses, desserts, drinks. I've got the full works going on this December, so I really hope you enjoy these videos. Don't forget to give me a like below and subscribe to my channel as well. So today's recipe is an exclusive cookbook recipe. I've got a brand new Christmas cookbook that I have just released over on my website, which is www.susannahskitchen.uk. So go over there and grab yourself a copy. Now you don't need to worry about saving this video for today's recipe because there'll be a QR code in the cookbook which will link back if you do want to watch the recipe video again. And all my recipes are super achievable and of course really delicious. So I hope you enjoyed today's Ninja Foodi recipe. Let's go and start cooking. Today I'm making a gorgeous chocolate and Bailey's cheesecake. This is so good for the festive season. A little bit of Bailey's, you know, over Christmas is always really, really nice. So I've got my crumb to start with. You can use whatever biscuits you want. You can actually sometimes get hold of some Bailey's biscuits. So if you want to add a bit more Bailey's flavour, then use Bailey's biscuits. You can use a digestive, a chocolate digestive, you know, you name it. It doesn't really matter as long as you've got that crumb. So I've used a food processor for that. And then I'm adding in my melted butter. Now I'm just going to do this a little bit at a time and just give this a stir. And the consistency that we want is that when we basically put that in our hand and squeeze it together, the mixture will actually hold together. And that's really important. You don't want it to be too wet, and you certainly don't want it to be too crumbly either. I've lined my springform tin, and that's just going to help make it a little bit easier when I want to remove the cheesecake. Now I just pour in my biscuits. I tend to do this by eye, and obviously if you depend on what biscuits you're using, you may find that you need a bit more or a bit less butter. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a base, but I'm also going to put the biscuits up the side, and this is why you need them to be able to stick so that it will hold and form together. Now this has got all of the crumb in the bottom and up the sides. You don't need to go right the way to the top. You can see that I have left a little bit of an edge there. If you want to go all the way to the top, you can. And that was probably about 3/4 of the way roughly. But that is all good. So we've got our rack in there on the low position. Close the lid of the Ninja. And I'm now going to put this on to bake. And that is going to firm up that base, make it nice and solid for the middle of the cheesecake. This is what your base will look like. So put that to one side and let that cool. The next stage is to make my fillings, my cheesecake filling. I've got some dark chocolate here. If you use chocolate chips, it's just going to melt a little bit quicker, but you can get a bar of chocolate and just chop it up like this. You want dark chocolate. I've got this on sear and saute, and that's just going to create some steam and some heat and just let me melt that really gently so that we don't burn or spoil the chocolate. Of course, if you prefer to microwave it, do this on the hob, you can, but you can make this whole thing in the Ninja. In here, I've got my cream cheese and also my sugar, and you want to beat those together until they're really well combined. This is completely optional, but whenever I'm using chocolate, I like to put a little bit of espresso in. So I've just got a teaspoon there. I'm also going to add in some vanilla extract. I've got my melted chocolate, my dark chocolate. Look at that, it's so glossy and gorgeous. Let's scrape that in, and we want to incorporate that into our cream cheese mixture. Try and get all of it out. Don't waste one little bit of that chocolatey goodness. And then give that another mix. Now there are a couple of things to consider here. Don't over whip this. So I tend to finish this off by hand because it really doesn't take any effort. Thing is with a cheesecake, if you incorporate too much air into the mixture, I often find that they crack a lot. I mean, it may crack anyway, but definitely if you overbeat it and just, it's just air basically that gets into the mixture and it gives you that crack on the top. So I'm going to add in my Baileys. Don't be tempted to add too much in, because if you add too much in, it's not going to set as well. I cannot tell you how good this smells. We've got that slight hint of espresso in the background. We've got vanilla. We've got rich, rich chocolate, and then that Baileys. Oh, this is heaven. This is literally my heaven, this is. So into there, you want to add your eggs, and we're adding 2 eggs to this mixture. So let's start with the first egg and let's crack that in. And I'm just gonna, again, mix this by hand. So let's go in with my second egg. Now I'm gonna pour my mixture into my baked base. So that's nice and solid and firm to take that liquid. I love a good cheesecake. So does my husband. I think you must all just think he just likes everything, and you're not wrong. And as you can see, by going 3/4 of the way up with my crumb, that has allowed me to fill that up. Right, we need to get this under pressure. So I've got water in the bottom because we're pressure cooking, and then I'm going to lower in my cheesecake, and that is covered with foil. Let's get the lid closed. Don't forget to have your valve on seal. And for the full ingredients list and method for now pressure cooking it, don't forget to buy my Christmas cookbook, which is available on my website. My cheesecake is set in the fridge overnight. Alternatively, you can leave it for 4, 5, 6 hours, but you want it to be really, really firm. So that is perfect now. So we're moving on to making the ganache. I've got my cream in the bottom of the pot here, and I'm just warming that up. And then we're going to pour that over our dark chocolate. Of course, you don't need to do this in the Ninja. If you don't want to, you can heat the cream by an alternative method. But we have the Ninja, so why not use it for the full process? Once you start to see some small bubbles on your cream, you want to remove that from the Ninja. And then pour your cream over your chocolate and then give that a whisk. And if you're patient, that chocolate will melt and this will form the most beautiful glossy ganache. I find the easiest way is to use a whisk with this and just keep it moving. You will notice I again didn't have chocolate chips, but you do, if you've got a bar, you do want to break it up into really small pieces, just as I have done here. And that way you've got that surface area of that chocolate. Small little pieces are then going to melt that little bit faster and easier. And look at that. We now have the most beautiful chocolate ganache. So here's the cheesecake out of the fridge, and that is set really well. And you can see we've still got a little bit of space around the top before we hit the actual top kind of edge, you know, the crumb that we've got, the biscuit crumb. And that gives us space to pour over our ganache. Into my ganache, I've also put a little tiny bit of Baileys, just to give us that extra hint of Baileys in there. The ganache has cooled down slightly, so I'm now ready to pour that over the top. Look at that, so glossy and beautiful. Now this is going to set in the fridge. It's going to take probably around an hour, I would say, to set fully. That is so shiny and glossy. I'm absolutely delighted with that. You can most definitely decorate this with extras if you wish to. To hint to the bit of Baileys, you can add some Baileys chocolates on top as well. That would be incredible. There you go. That is smoothed out. That looks beautiful. Look at the gloss on that. So I'm going to get that in the fridge, and then once that is set, I will remove all of this and show you properly how stunning this cheesecake is. Here is my chocolate and Bailey's cheesecake. I chose to decorate mine with some gold stars on the top, but you can definitely add some Bailey's truffles or whatever you fancy to decorate it.